When should you pull on the weapon banner? With the release of the Chronicled banner, a lot of individuals have at least kind of acknowledged that the Chronicled banner may be better for you to pull on for a weapon than the weapon banner itself. This is only partially true. Let's go in depth. First and foremost, I pulled for a lot of weapons, not just 5 stars, but also the exclusive 4 stars too, like the portable power saw. Nobody uses this. I don't know why it exists, but it matches Daya color scheme. So it has one use, I guess, for the drip. Beyond that though, 4 stars aren't your main priority. There are some really good ones in my personal opinion, but the vast majority of F2P options for 4 stars aren't that bad, and the best ones will obviously be in the battle pass. Now, the main benefit of the 4 stars in any banner is going to be fav, or if they offer some unique value, such as this one for official. But let's focus on the 5 stars in particular. Off the rip, I'm going to say, there are some times to where a weapon banner can be worthwhile for you. First off, the less 4 stars you have that are really accessible, and I'm going to be honest here, polearms are kind of the main culprit of this. If you don't have good DPS 4-star polearm options, 5 stars and the weapon banner can look way more appealing. Bows, however, are in a different predicament. You have great 4-star free options from events. You have great free options like Fav that you kind of get at the beginning of Mondstadt or at the end of the Mondstadt arc. And so it's more difficult to recommend that. As of right now, this banner, despite being defense-based for 2 Geo characters, isn't that bad. Red Horn, despite being a weapon that gives you bonuses for defense and normal and charge attack, is not bad for a bunch of characters just because of the immense high 88% crit damage it gives you. It also matches some nice color schemes. Urakumi Sugiri is Alhaitham's second best in slot. It is Albedo and Shiori's best in slot weapon. It does have a very generalist passive. Yes, you can ignore the defense bonus, but you still get 24% skill damage, 16% normal attack damage bonus, and 88% crit damage. This is a very good generalist option. I can say, comfortably at least, that if you have a character or any Claymore character you use, this might be a good weapon banner to consider, because the Claymore is nice and a very good general option, and the sword is not bad. The only bad thing about the sword is its low base attack, so it's bad for Bennett. But you have great options in Sapwood Blade. This is a good generalist option. Some of the best banners we've had usually feature either a Staff of Homa or an Aqua Simulacra. We had Aqua Simulacra and Staff of Homa. Why was this a great option for a weapon banner? Aside from the nice scaling of 66% crit damage and 88% crit damage, you had a very good generalist passive, a 20% damage bonus for the bow, and an attack conversion from HP for Homa. Yes, some characters can activate it, but the 66% crit damage makes up for it. Lenny's weapon, the First Great Magic, was featured alongside Aqua Simulacra. Ignore mine is R3. We don't talk about that. Actually, we can. I specifically wanted 1 First Great Magic for Lenny and 1 Aqua. So I got First Great Magic immediately and then charted my course for Aqua Simulacra. I got, as you see here, 2 more First Great Magics before I got my Aqua. Even though I technically lost the 50-50s, I got another banner weapon. This banner weapon is amazing. I refined mine because I have a bunch of other options, but this is great on Tignari, this is great on Fischl, this is great on literally any character. And so as a result of that, I can say that there are some banners that are worthwhile. Now, do consider some weapons are very niche. Nahida's weapon, 1000 Floating Dreams, it's great for Nahida in particular. It's also good for Yai Miko and Aggravate teams for the Elemental Mastery. But if you were to prioritize a catalyst, I would say Yai Miko's Kagura's Verity is very, very nice. And even though Lost Prayer is standard, it's still a good weapon to get here and there, whether it's from standard or from losing a 50-50. So please don't consider Catalyst as a must-have. I would say that the best characters or the best weapon category to pull for will either be spears or bows. Claymores don't have that many great options, but Claymores have wonderful generalist options. We don't really get many crit scaling Claymores, and if you can, just go for the Battle Pass instead. The Battle Pass gives a way better and more accessible Claymore than any of the options you're going to get from a 5-star. You also now have Chronicled banner, so keep that in mind. Also do consider that certain weapon categories and archetypes, specifically spears in this instance, have horrible 4-star options if you are trying to build a DPS out. If we're looking at spears, hypothetically, ignore Lithic. Let's say you don't get any of these exclusive ones. The event ones are iffy at best. Dialogues of the Desert Sages is only good if you don't have a Favonius lying around. Even though it gives more HP, and it's better for characters like Chevreuse, it isn't good for anyone else, and even if we're looking at Chevreuse in particular, her burst doesn't matter, so just give her Black Tassel. Black Tassel has even more HP than Dialogue of the Desert Sages, and it's a 3-star, so it's cheaper to raise. And so, if you're looking at spears in particular, Their 5-star options are wonderful, and their 4-star options are kinda trash. Ask any Xiao main, ask any character, anyone who's building up either a Raiden or a Xiangling. You kinda want Fav or the catch, and the catch is your best option, and you have to fish for days to get that one. Yes, it's on my Yunjin, we don't talk about this one. But let's ignore that ramble for now. Here is your generalist guideline for picking up 5-star weapons if ever you want to consider them. First off, make sure the rest of your roster is filled out. This means you're in a position to where you have the vast majority of characters you want on your account, and you're like, I want to improve. At that point, you need to look at who you're trying to improve. Examples include Hu Tao. Staff of Homa is a wonderful option for her. It's great, about a 20% DPS increase. However, I would say pick up her C1 first. Her C1 makes her way more comfortable to play, and if you have that, Homa is better. Now, what's your next option? Hypothetically, you want to improve your Yelan. Well, Yelan has Aqua, a wonderful weapon which is a 15 to 30% damage increase, and it makes her easier to build out stat-wise. At least you think. However, the downside of this is, without Favonius, she doesn't get that much energy. Her E1 or C1 gives her an additional charge. This is more energy, but you need to consider what team you're running her in. Aqua sounds good on the surface, but it's only good if you can maximize it with an HP Sans. If you're having to trade more HP for energy recharge, then you're running into a problem to where it's the 20% or the 16% HP bonus that Aqua gives you is diminished slightly by the fact that you're missing 46% HP everywhere else, because you had to switch to an ER Sans. So your first priority and consideration will be, do you have other options for the weapon? If no, the 5-star gains value. Second, is this weapon going to significantly change your build requirements? I.e., will you need more energy? If it doesn't and just improves and make it easier to build a character out as DPS, please consider it. It gains value. Your third, is this weapon accessible in other characters? Is it flexible? Does it have a very niche passive, like something like Thundering Pulse? If so, it loses value. If it doesn't have a niche passive, it gains value. Third, how good is this weapon compared to standard options? If it is comparable to a standard band weapon like Amos Bow or Skyward Harp, it's not as valuable strictly because it's just not. Just get a standard weapon at that point. Yes, certain weapons like Engulfing Lightning don't necessarily change the way you build a character, but incentivize building more into it. Raiden gets so much value from ER already, this just makes it even better. However, weapons, in my opinion at least, only hold value if your character is significantly losing damage because of the weapon. Hypothetically speaking, if you're a Xiao main and you're stuck on either White Tassel, or maybe you have Missive Wind Spear, or have characters fighting over it, then yes, 5-star options are going to be an upgrade, but Xiao's best in slot weapon is still a standard weapon, so you're kind of in a position right now to where just hope you get it at some point on standard banner, unfortunately. However, in this specific circumstance, every character needs to be considered of, if the weapon is good, great. If it's a nice increase, great. If it's versatile, great. But do they have better constellations? Is a constellation 1 or 2 Raiden going to be better than picking up our weapon? Yes, in this instance, because you need to consider if you're summoning on the normal weapon banner, that is 2 50-50 losses potentially before picking up the third weapon, which is the one you wanted. So that is 3 pities. That could be 3 constellations. If they have better constellations, go for them. Do the constellations change the way they work? If yes, maybe you should pick that up instead. I'd say weapons are a significant upgrade, and they do help you out with building out characters, especially if they scale with crit, like Staff of Scarlet Sands, or are they very flexible, like Staff of Scarlet Sands. But they also come with the significant downside of they are way more expensive to raise. If I'm looking at my account right now, I barely have any mats to raise weapons. Like, I am honestly always broke in regards to enhancement ores, so I cry every day. Just understand that, in my opinion, spears are the best archetype for 5-star weapons. Bows, a vast majority of characters can still take advantage of the stringless. And Yoimiya even has her own replacement as a 4-star weapon. Swords are kind of iffy depending on the character you need them used on, but Sapwood Blade exists for Bennett and other characters who want the energy recharge. However, I don't think the weapon banner is not necessarily as bad as people say it is, because it is pretty bad, but I don't think it's a always, no, it's not a recommendation, because it can be a legitimate improvement for your account, especially if you don't have other options. If you're somebody who's struggling between a Favonius Raiden and a Favonius Xiangling, then yes, a new weapon can be a significant upgrade for either one of these characters, so long as it's useful for them. But if you're missing out on characters you already want, hypothetically, let's say you want, I don't know, a Kokomi or Arlecchino, then maybe it's better to save for them first and then decide the direction of your account. Maybe if you get Arlecchino, you're looking at, okay, well, Who else needs a spear? Well, Xiao does, Sino does, Raiden does, Hu Tao, they're all fighting for a spear, including Arlecchino. Maybe it's time to aim for a spear banner. But that's my opinion. Tell me yours down below, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.